Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating nature-inspired watercolours in my studio, which are easy for you to do too. I share all my paintings with you on YouTube, and on our website dianeanton.com you can find free downloadable sketches for all the videos to help you make the most of your painting journey. And if you'd like a little bit more, we also have channel memberships with loads of perks for you to enjoy. So welcome on board. Click subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's learn to paint watercolour. Hi everyone and welcome back to my studio. Diane here. I'm going to be doing another painting today, and I thought it might be interesting to go back to basics. So why don't we sit down together, and it's not going to be a nature study lesson, but I just wanted to get back to basics because we're talking about mark making and doodles, intuitive art, semi-abstract work, and my deconstructed botanicals. If you're going to deconstruct a botanical, you better have a look at a plant first, I suppose, I said to myself this morning. Tamsin's out in the garden weeding, and I was just chatting with her about something entirely different. I wish you could smell this. This is absolutely aromatic. It's amazing. I've just picked up a whole bunch of weeds from the stone wall that surrounds the house. These are all just weeds. This is lupin pods, and here we have dried lupin pods. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I think in America you call them lupines, and there is such a thing as a lupine tree, which is much bigger than the lupins that we have, which are just like, herbaceous perennials. These are the seed pods dried, and these are them fresh still and green like peas. And I was just thinking, sometimes when I'm doing my paintings, like for example the one we did yesterday, which this one here, and we've got these embellishments and so on, and I'm doing the leaves and things. Sometimes it's very hard to think of a design for a leaf, isn't it? Or a set of leaves or a branch of leaves or something. And I realized how far away I'd got from my original inspiration for this channel, which is tutorials inspired by nature. And there's a tendency to do this, look at this. Can you see? Look at that. Look at that wonderful shape, how inspiring that is for something like this. And so I've been painting here with more than one colour and trying to get some leaf shapes and things. And anyway, so enough rambling. I think we probably ought to start painting, but isn't this amazing? So I suggest that you go out into the garden. If you've got one, go to the park if you haven't got a garden. And then there's the roots, of course. That's a whole other thing. The pattern of the roots is just amazing. And just pick some weeds. No one's going to stop you. Nothing wrong with that. It's not as if you're picking something rare and, precious. These are just weeds that are going to go on the compost. So I shall put those out the way for the minute. You can sit over there and scent the place delightfly. Probably give me hay fever again, but anyway. So I have a tip for you today. A little tip. Just a second. The place looks like a tip now. I have a tip about brushes. The other day we were talking about paper, and I said controversially, I said, if you want to paint loose, you don't have to. If you want to paint loose, if you want to paint looser, then try trying a bigger piece of paper. Not a double elephant size. That is a real size, double elephant. It's huge piece of paper. I think it's the biggest sized sheet that you can get, and it's not easy to get, and I've never had one. But you don't need that. Just a piece which is like 9 by 12 or 10 by 16, something like that. And use a bigger brush. And I don't mean a huge brush, just, a brush which is roughly this size, and splash around a bit. And a lot of people have said, oh yes, that's a really good idea. And I don't think it's a bad idea. So anyway, now going on from that, I'll show you here a couple of experiments that I've been doing this morning. And you see these leaves have got two colours in them, right? And you might very well say, how did you do that? And I did it again here. And what I've been trying to do is to get the colours to blend on the paper. Just blend sometimes with runbacks like that, which is where the two colours have come together and said, eh! And then more kind of gentle gradients like that, where this is quinacridone gold, this is Windsor violet, or something similar to that, and this is burnt sienna and Windsor violet. And so you can see that the burnt sienna makes this line because it's got larger particles, I think, and it's more of an earth colour. The quinacridone gold doesn't, it blends in more with the dioxazine violet, the Windsor violet, because they're both synthetic colours and the particles are smaller, so they mix and mingle better. So here, this is raw burnt sienna and dioxazine violet, and we're getting all of these conflicts, and that's quite good. I quite like that. And what I was trying to do was to mix burnt sienna with quinacridone gold. So we got the brightness of the quinacridone gold and the resistance of the burnt sienna going up against the dioxazine violet. Now, if you're going to do that and you do a painting which is going to have leaves like that in it, then what you want to do, or what you could do, one way of doing it, is to wet the paper, okay, keep that brush clean and get another brush the same size, or roughly the same size, pick up a little bit of let's say burnt sienna mixed with a little bit of quinacridone gold, and drop that in and let that do its thing. But don't wash it off your brush, because in the name of economy and convenience, you don't need to do that. But then just drop, using a third brush, drop your violet in, and then you can add a drop of water and you'll get all sorts of interesting effects. So that's a technique which is used by people, including me. You can add a bit more of this if you want down the bottom and see how the whole thing shifts. And you have absolutely no control whatsoever over what's going to happen there. You can take off some of the water if you want and let it flow a little bit more easily if you feel you might have overdone it. But what you don't want to do is try to control it. So at this point, I might make that line a little bit straighter. You can control that much. But at this point, you just need to go away and leave it. And then you'll end up with something like this. These are very nice for the autumn, aren't they? These kinds of colours. And there's all sorts of things you can do with those. But the main point of showing you this is that you might want to have 3 brushes, same size brushes, on the go at the same time. Have one with violet, one with your reddish colour, your brown, and one with just water. And if you keep them with their appropriate colour of paint, which I've got at the moment in my little dishes, it doesn't have to be like that. You can do it just as easily with a palette like this, or even if you're using Kuretake, you know, these are separate colours. If you wanted to do this with these colours, I would probably go for one of these here, mixed with, this is a yellow. It doesn't look like yellow here, but it is a quite bright yellow. And then the violet, I think there's a violet here somewhere, or a dark, that one, I suppose. The actual, this is the Art Nouveau set. Really, the regular set, the one that looks like this is better for these kinds of things, because in this one you've got a proper violet, and you've got a proper burnt sienna. I think that one's burnt sienna, that's Indian red. And what was the other colour I was using? Quinacridone gold. Well, you haven't got that, but you've got yellow. Anyway, obviously you could do anything with those as well in just exactly the same sort of way. Okay, so that's today's lesson. A little bit of botany, a little bit of technique, and now we're going to go to painting. I'm going to use the Meeden paper this morning. If you're interested in purchasing this, just go to our website, dianeanton.com, and have a look under on the page there that talks about these products. You get an extra 10% off if you order that way and put in the code Diane10. They're already pretty inexpensive, all of their palettes and paints and this paper, which I think it's about $16 without the discount for 20 sheets of 100% cotton, which can't be bad. Not bad paper at all. And I'm just wetting my gold paints here. This is Calero, made by Finetech gold paint, which is really nice for the sorts of things that we're doing at the moment. I think I'll probably paint it this way around today, as I very often do. It's sort of portrait format, that is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using, like I just mentioned, I'm going to be using quinacridone gold, dioxazine violet, otherwise known as Windsor violet, or one of those other names that has. And my 3 brushes here, I'm going to keep one for the gold, one for the violet, and one for water. Actually, this one is, well, I'm going to do that. And then I'll have some more. I've got loads of brushes, so I've got plenty, and I can have one for each colour, plus one for the water too. And I'm going to do a background. And the background I'm going to do in gold, mixed with a little bit of this secret ingredient, which is Daniel Smith Buff Titanium, because it kind of, I don't know, it kind of looks nice. So we'll just do that. Let me see, I need a slightly bigger brush. Let's go for my Aqua Elite, if I can find it. I put them all away last night, which was probably a bad idea. Where are you? Where are you? No, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Whoops, this is a good one. Look, it's lost its end. That's a Grumbacher. Doesn't matter. It's only for the background, so it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to just pick up some thin gold paint, very, very thin, and I'm just going to slap it on and pick up a little bit of this Buff Titanium and just mix that in with it. And I'm not going to go to the edges. This is just partly, to be honest, to just break the white paper syndrome. So many people talk a lot about, a lot of people talk about, what's it called, imposter syndrome. Yeah, we all have a bit of that. It used to be called modesty. You know, not thinking you were the best in the world, because you're not. But anyway, I've now done a little bit of a sort of splashy background there with some gold and some Daniel Smith. I can never remember if it's called Titanium Buff or Buff Titanium. It's Buff where is it? I think it's Buff Titanium. Anyway, oh, here it is. Buff Titanium, that's right. It is basically white with a little bit of beige in it. And ecru, it says. It's got the colours on it, I think. Pigment white 6.1. And, oh, I don't know what the other one is. Some secret squirrel type of thing, I expect. So next thing to do is to just let this dry. And then we'll come back and we'll start to do a painting. You've been waiting for this moment, haven't you? So for this painting, you could draw your design first if you wanted to. And I'm sort of tempted to do that, but if I do that, it will just take an awful long time and you'll be bored to tears. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to myself, that's, first of all, a very nice shaped leaf. This is wilting already. I put it in some water. It's a bit broken here. Hang on a second. Just a little bit of plant maintenance here. Let's pop you in some water, shall we? Container there. I'll stick you in there, keep you alive a little bit longer. Nice shaped leaves, because they're sort of, I think, like arrowhead shape, aren't they? And what I was thinking of doing for this was to come in from the sides with different shaped leaves. And of course, it's a little bit more complicated if you're going to do them in 2 colours. So I probably would be well advised to, to draw them first, but I'm not going to. I'm going to hope and pray that I can manage this. So we'll put in some, and also the other thing is I wasn't working with this colour, this kind of paper either. I was working with just sketch paper, well actually mixed media paper. So anyway, let's do that. Okay, and then we'll make a stem, and then I'll go back to the purple and do the point again. Hope you can see what I'm doing. And this is quinacridone gold. And I'm not wetting the paper first because that's to give me just a little bit more control on this particular painting. And it doesn't, this is not, you see, I'm not washing the brush. And the reason I'm not washing the brush is because I'm using one brush for the purple and one brush for the gold. And I'm just swapping over. And chances are, sooner or later, I'll make a mistake. But it doesn't matter because we're looking for blends. And it's all just fine. So, yes, I thought I was going to do that. So we'll take the stem to the edge of the paper. And of course, purple, if it really blends with gold, it's going to give you a brown. So we might end up here with a very lovely, subtle autumn look. You might be saying to yourself, what are you talking about, woman? It's July and it's 120 degrees here. That is probably true, but it won't be necessarily when you watch this one again in the autumn. It won't necessarily be that hot. And it's not here. It feels, honestly, it truly feels like September. It's quite bizarre because it is July and you would not think so. Okay, so there's that. Now, a good technique if you want to make these look a little bit more realistic is to come in with something like this pen. This is just an ordinary dip pen, and you can draw in the centre vein. And because you're coming from wet paint, darker colour into lighter colour, you can drag some of that paint back, which gives you nice veins. Okay, very simple. You might not want to do that if this painting is going to be more of a doodle painting, or you might, because you might want a combination of realism and fantasy. So that's that. And if you want to make the stem a little bit darker, there's nothing to stop you coming in there with a little bit of mauve and just darken that down a little bit. I've got a tiny little speck there of, this is the kind of thing that happens, but I don't think that's going to matter. When it's dry, I'll get rid of that. I've made it worse now, but when that's dry, I'll be able to get rid of that. You can watch that space. You see what I've done? I've made it run out. We'll leave that. That'll go away. Or you could sort of make the whole leaf bigger, but it's probably best just to leave it to dry. Okay, so I think I've more or less fixed that. Now, the next one I'm going to do is this, which is, come on camera, you can focus. I don't dare do that because if I do that, then it won't focus on the next thing. But you can see these seed heads, I think they are, which are kind of, I don't know what shape that is, but anyway, they're quite interesting. So I'm going to have a go at that. I think they're seeds, not leaves. And I'm going to put that coming up here. So I need to now make the camera focus on the paper. Hopefully that's okay. Am I in focus? I hope so. Let me try with the brush. We're going to use, yeah, okay. So let's take our, this is a number 7, I think, Drawell brush. And I'm going to, again, put in a stem, and it's going to go right the way down and off the page. Doesn't matter if it's broken a bit, not a problem. And then we'll just do lots of little loose, because we're not going for realism here. I will remind you and me, we are going for hello Zen. We're not going for realism, so we'll just do that. And you could, if you wanted to sort of give that a little bit more interest, you could pick up some burnt sienna and just drop at the edge, top edge point of some of them, perhaps not all of them, perhaps the ones that haven't joined up, maybe, whichever you feel, and just drop in some burnt sienna, and that will give you a little bit of variety in the colour. You might want to put a few in which are burnt sienna completely in some of the spaces, like that, perhaps. And that's a nice, strong message, isn't it? Oh, I don't need to wash my brush. I forgot I was doing that. Next thing, what are we going to do next? We want something coming from this side. And what have we got? We've got these lovely, dry, very purpley seed pods from the lupins. They're wonderful, aren't they? So we'll obviously be working with the purple here. Put that there so I can see it. They're furry. They've got this lovely furry coating to them. So let's perhaps bring the stem up here, maybe. And then I'm going to do large, kind of wavy things, I think. And they've got points. They're a bit pointy at the top, so I'm going to pick up some burnt sienna. I'm just going to add that to them, because that will make them a bit darker too. Oops, don't smudge. Because burnt sienna mixed with purple Winsor violet is going to give you a darker colour. And then they have, as you know, they have sort of pointed leaves, but they don't grow like this, but I'm going to make them like that because this is really just a fantasy, isn't it? Just a nature inspired, not dictated, not nature determined, not botanical, not exactly the way it looks in real life. So I will wash that one out. And now, time is near. Here I've got some purple flowers, purple and green. Oh, this is sage. This has got sage. So we're going to need some sage green here. And I just happen to have some, actually. And this is a coincidence because I was using this the other day. So I've got this sage green here. And let's move you up there. So what I think I'll do, we will come in with some sage green. That's handy, isn't it? Ready mix. I didn't realise. So I'm going to just do some really quite big leaves. here for the sage. And then it has flowers that come up and a big stem down the middle. And I'm going to be bold and I'm going to take this all the way up to the top. And this is obviously, this painting is developing as I'm going along, which is the what do they call it? The agony and the ecstasy, because you just don't know what's going to happen when you start painting. And I think that's really the main reason why so many people find it so hard to get started. You know, you have your paintbrush there and you've got the paper there and you've got a rough idea what you want to do. But I don't know about you, but what makes me hesitate isn't so much the fear of failing, whatever that's supposed to mean, because who am I failing? It's just it's a bit like having a baby, isn't it? It's a bit like having a baby. When you decide you're going to have a child, you know it's going to hurt. You know it's going to change your life. You know all those things are going to happen, but you still go ahead and do it. And painting is a bit like that, really, in the sense of, you know, when you create a painting, there's a certain part of it that's going to be painful. And if it decides to go wrong, then it's going to be very painful. Talk to my son about that. But if it decides to go right, then you can't wait to do the next one. Right? So we're going into the purple now, and the the burnt sienna, I think. And I'm going to put a little bit of burnt sienna at the bottom of these flowers. And then I'm going to put a little bit of purple above for the flowers themselves. These are the sage flowers. We've had some spectacular sage flowers this year, and we've got them down here too. A bit smaller. Just in case you're thinking to yourself, this is too difficult for me, this painting, honestly, it isn't. I hope you give it a try, because it's not difficult. I'm going to use the pen. This is just a dip pen, same one. I'm just going to use that to just put in some veins for my leaves. I'm just scratching into the wet paint, and that gives me the effect veins. And I'm just putting a little bit more paint on there, mostly water. There we are. And okay, so we're finished with our sage, and we're finished with our lupins for the minute. Now I need to think about what I'm going to put here and here. Let's see, what have we got? We've got some daisies. I think they would work, don't you? Let's go to the green again, and we'll bring in a stem like that, and then we're going to want to try to make the stalks a little bit finer. And then let's put some lovely exaggerated centers using the quinacridone gold for these lovely flowers. They're only daisies. There we go. And then if we're quick about it, we can attach them. If they're not attached, we can just pull stems down like that. And then we can just, if we're quick enough about it, using our pen, just go around the outside edge and do something really modern. Just have to do it really quickly though, because you don't want the paint to dry, because then you wouldn't have anything to pick up with your pen. And you don't have to use white. If you do this, you get the impression of petals. Just made a bit of a blob there, we'll get rid of that. And then if you feel that's a little bit too light, I actually quite like that. I think that's pretty good. But I'm going to just drop in a little bit more of the quinacridone gold, just to give it a bit more on some of them, not all of them. Let me see how that'll dry. I think we actually probably need another one down here. Remember, we've got that little bit of gold in the center behind all of this. Okay, so now we need something here. Okay, so I've got, this is broom. So I think that's quite nice. That'll be a nice contrast, won't it? If that comes in here, we can use this bit here, perhaps, something like that. It's got these nice little 3-part leaves. So let's, I might need a bit more green, I think. I think I might. Let me see, have I got some green here? Wow. Yeah, this is just emerald green, basically, mixed with alizarin crimson, basically, which gives us a sort of subtle greenish colour. Like that. Yeah, that's fine, isn't it? Yeah, that's quite a nice dull green. And we will try to bring in some and then we'll do some 3-part leaves like this. At this point, like I said before, we abandon all efforts at realism. We're just being inspired by nature, not constrained. There we are. This doesn't have any flowers on this one, I don't think. And what next? Maybe we want to darken these down perhaps a little bit. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second and let that dry and see whether we need to do anything else. This painting is now dry, and what I've done to decide on my next step is I've taken a photocopy of it, a couple of copies actually, which is something I've been proposing is a good idea for a little while now, and I do it a lot. And the idea is to, because I know this isn't finished, but I'm not quite sure how to finish it. And we often get to that point, don't we? And now we have the opportunity to do this, because in the years gone by, we didn't, you didn't have the opportunity to take a photocopy and play with that. But I'm taking advantage of this opportunity now. So here is one. And I tried a few berries. I did these in brown with a brush pen. And clearly that doesn't give enough contrast to the painting. So that's not correct. Now on this one, I've tried it with using the dioxazine violet, really dark. And I've popped on some berries there. This isn't exactly the same colour as the original, obviously. So it's not going to look exactly like that. But I think I'm going to try that out and see how that goes. So I've picked up a size 5 Drawell round, and I'm going to use not very much water, just enough water to make it manageable with the violet. And then I'm going to bravely put in some berries. And even when I'm not doing something completely attempting to be realistic, I do quite like to put little highlights in my berries a little bit. And I don't know if this will work, but if it does, you can draw in the little stems that hold them all together quite easily using this pen. So we can put a few more over here. As long as you've got enough water on your berries, so that the pen can pick some of the paint up, you can make your life easier by doing it like this. You try doing that with a brush and you'll drive yourself crazy, because you can't get anything like as fine a line that way. So I think down here I'm going to put some slightly different, but still in the same dioxazine violet colour, some slightly different. And I'm going to do the stems there using my fine liner in brown, because I know that that's not going to work, because I want to be able to do some shapes like that. So we'll just do that. Let's put another one here. Maybe a little one up here. Something like that. And let me see. Over here, I think we'll do some small ones. A bit more water. Little ones, perhaps quite a few of them, maybe. Like this. And let's see if I can make it work with this. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Need another couple there. And maybe we'll put 5 down here as well. And then we can sort of join them together somehow or other. That's fine. And what else? Maybe another one of these flowers up here to join onto there. Yeah, we need a little bit of gold. And, well, we could make this a little bit brighter. And the green could be a little bit darker. But I don't want to mess about with it too much, because it is of the moment. And then another thing that you can do, if you want to, if you can make it work, you can go around the outsides of the berries. Actually, these ones, no, I don't think I'll do that. You can, if it's still wet, you can go around the outside of the berries, just dragging some of the paint. Can you see what I'm doing there? Just kind of picking up the paint and giving it a bit more of a scribbly effect. Like that, which gives them a bit more roundness, a bit more fun. And we could do the same, because these are still wet. them a little bit more lively. So lo and behold, we have done a sort of semi-botanical kind of thing here with all sorts of interesting leaves and shapes and stuff like that, which is not at all what I had intended to do today. And I'm not going to do any doodling or embellishments or anything like that on it. I might possibly pick up a green, not that one, a green, excuse me, I'll just try and find it. A dark green, that'll do, to put some centers. I'm going to smudge that like crazy in a minute, just to put some center veins in these here to make them a little bit less blank. These kinds of details, they don't need to be detailed and carefully done. They want to be sort of, you know, a little bit random. Don't try too hard. I think that's basically what it's all about. Don't try too hard, and you can emphasize your veins here. This is why I like these poetiques when I think of them, because you can do lots of little bits and pieces that you can't really do with a brush, to be honest. You can make this a little bit more dark where you want it a little bit more dark. If you do, you could add a bit here, but I'm not going to because that would spoil it. Anyway, I'm going to stop now and go and have lunch because it's time to do that. And there we are. So give us a like and subscribe, turn on notifications, do all those things that are, you know, really important for us, for you to do if you wouldn't mind. Have a go at this, see if you enjoy doing something like this without any scribble marks or anything like that. This is just plain old-fashioned watercolor, floral, botanical, semi-botanical, whatever. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I'll see you again soon. So bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.